This SaaS company just crossed $10 million in ARR, and 50% of their pipeline comes from LinkedIn. But if you've ever tried growing on LinkedIn, it's not easy. Maybe you ask employees to post, but after a few days, most of them quit. Or maybe you sponsored a LinkedIn creator, but none of their engagement actually turned into pipeline. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how the team at StoryLane managed to build a LinkedIn strategy that actually drives pipeline. And this strategy works even if you currently have zero presence on LinkedIn. So StoryLane is an interactive product demo SaaS that allows you to build a demo in 2 minutes. And their head of marketing, Madhav Bhandari, decided to go all in on LinkedIn as a growth channel. So here are the 3 prongs of StoryLane's LinkedIn marketing strategy. So first, they did employee advocacy. Second, they sponsored LinkedIn creators. And third, they did customer contests. So let's break down StoryLane's strategy for each of these 3 prongs, starting with employee advocacy. If you want to grow on LinkedIn, StoryLane's head of marketing shared on the Ahrefs podcast that it's really wise to first start with employee advocacy.
If you want to grow on LinkedIn, you have to start from your team members, because everybody knows the company profiles don't have a lot of reach. Personal profiles have a lot more reach, right? So you need to leverage that to be able to get that initial spark to your brand.
Now, to give you an overview of their employee advocacy program's success, StoryLane had just 17 active employees, and those employees created 566 posts. And those posts generated about 46,700 total engagements and 3.6 million cumulative views. And while these stats illustrate all of the employees' posts, so not just the posts that actually promoted StoryLane, I would say that tracking employee growth is really useful because it's their profiles that are going to be your brand's amplification. So as your employees' following grows, your brand's distribution opportunities are also going to grow. Okay, so how do you actually start an employee advocacy program? There are essentially 3 steps. First, let's figure out who. So which of your employees should you include in your employee advocacy program? Next is how. So how are you going to incentivize and encourage your employees to participate consistently? And finally, what? So what topics can you give your employees content ideas? Now let's break down StoryLane's approach to each of these questions, starting with the who. Now it's tempting to include all of your employees in the advocacy program. Yet as Madhav pointed out on the Ahrefs podcast, a lot of employees are going to be reluctant to post on LinkedIn.
You need to push them. Some people are just not social media savvy. Some people don't want to share. Some people, they're too busy in their work, right?
So here's what Madhav stated in a LinkedIn post. First, leadership posts first, every week, no excuses. So CEO, head of marketing, product, customer success, sales. We don't ask others to do what we won't do ourselves. Secondly, identify your internal influencers. So find team members with reach. For example, our founding SDR, brand lead, and product lead have double the followers and really crush it on LinkedIn. Make them the face, and everybody else follows. So once you have leadership and current company influencers involved, Madhav recommends focusing on getting marketing, sales, and customer support team members involved in your advocacy program. Basically, anybody that has a touch point with your prospects should be involved in the advocacy program, because that way your brand's just going to appear everywhere in your prospects' feed. So next is the how. So how do you incentivize and actually encourage employees to participate consistently? Because most employees don't really want to create and publish content. Now, the 3 key pillars that StoryLane uses to keep their employees consistently engaged are first, positive reinforcement, second, fun content, and finally, gamification. So let's start with the positive reinforcement. Just begging employees to engage and then making them feel guilty doesn't really work. So rather than nagging employees, Madhav starts every all-hands meeting by thanking them for LinkedIn participation, even if that participation was very minimal. He also ends every all-hands meeting with the chant, engage, engage, engage. So this approach, combined with the fact that leadership is also actively engaging on LinkedIn, really helped them create a LinkedIn-first culture, and that helped their employee advocacy program succeed. Another reason employees engage with the Storylane content is if the content's actually fun.
That is a bargain. Stunning. Stunning. Yes, I'll be able to retain all of the information that you give me today.
And then finally, gamification. So they have a Slack channel with about 25 people and a leaderboard that shows the most active employees. And in fact, if you want to create your own employee advocacy leaderboard, you can actually do so in Favicon. So first, go to the lists and name your list. You can also add a logo if you'd like. Then add relevant employees to your list. So this would be all the people that you identified in the Who section. After creating a list of all of your employees in Favicon, you can click on Advanced Tracking and you can see a leaderboard along with engagement metrics. You can sort the time frame from the last 6 months to just the last 7 days, which makes it really easy to run contests and reward employees with prizes. But often, employees don't post anything because they just don't know what to post. They don't have any content ideas. And if they're just posting content that's really generic or it's strictly promotional, then they're not going to actually build a following. And without an audience, those employees won't have anyone to promote your brand to. So what can you recommend employees post if they don't have any ideas? Well, first, consider working with like a ghostwriter or even use internal team resources to provide support. At Storylane, they actually have a single team member who converts all the call recordings into posts, and they also provide support by reviewing drafts, sharing examples, and providing feedback, and just kind of generally helping the team to be more active. Now, I can't stress enough that the idea really has the biggest impact on the success of the LinkedIn post. So to give you some concrete topic ideas that you can hand directly to your employees, I analyzed Storylane's top performing posts across its employees, and I broke it into these categories. So first you have results transparency. So this is like sharing real case studies and internal processes. For example, Madhav's top performing post, which generated over 2,500 likes and 400 comments, was just a breakdown of Storylane's marketing budget. So encourage your employees to actively share results. Next is leadership and founder stories. These might be like failure or lesson learned types of posts. Next is celebrating wins. So did you have a major success or customer case study that you can share, and what did that look like? Then there's team and culture. This might be your company's approach to culture and maybe the employee's take on it. These really always perform well on LinkedIn. Even if it isn't perfectly relevant to your ICP, I find that these posts can help build the authority of somebody's account. And then creative and humorous content. So if your employees enjoy making skits, you could always recommend that style of content. In fact, this was actually the style of content that performed really well in Storylane's sponsored posts, and I'll get to those shortly. So take these categories and give them to your employees if they're stuck in the ideation process. If you want a recap of Storylane's approach to employee advocacy, here's a post directly from Madhav. Now, the second largest line item on Storylane's marketing budget is influencer marketing, and their head of brand confirmed that LinkedIn is currently the only platform that they're investing in for influencer marketing. Now, here are some of the stats. So over 700,000 monthly impressions and a $30 CPM versus a $65 CPM on other channels. If performance continues, they plan to push their budget to $1 million. But that's not how it started. Madhav shared on a podcast episode on the Rev Room that the initial version of their LinkedIn growth strategy was just asking customers to share their experience with Storylane on LinkedIn.
Initially, what happened was we recruited a bunch of our customers, but what we realized later on was that, all right, these customers were posting about us, but they didn't really have an audience. They weren't really creators. They, weren't sort of reaching, mass amount of people.
So to reach a larger audience, he started looking into sponsoring LinkedIn creators. Now, a few common questions around LinkedIn influencer marketing are, first, who do I partner with? Secondly, how do I actually structure a partnership? Third, what should those influencers actually post? And finally, how do I measure success? I analyzed most of the LinkedIn posts Storylane sponsored, and using that data, I'll explain how Storylane approached each of these questions. So first, who did they partner with? Well, since the initiation of their program, here are some of the stats that I discovered through Favicon. They sponsored a total of 12 creators and 46 posts. And you can actually find this data for any brand in Favicon. I went to the Storylane brand page, then Creator Network, and toggled to Was Tagged By, and then clicked through each creator individually and looked for anyone not employed by Storylane who also had a post labeled as a brand partnership. This data includes all posts that tagged Storylane and were labeled as a brand partnership. Now, when people start thinking about hiring influencers, follower count and engagement are usually the primary metrics that they consider. In Storylane's case, you can see that they hired creators with follower counts ranging from about 8,000 to over 97,000 followers. But you can tell that there was very little correlation between follower count and engagement. As their brand manager later mentioned, micro-influencers often generated more engagement and actually produced a better ROI. But engagement and follower count aren't the only factors that you want to consider when you're selecting creators. So here's a full criteria that their brand manager, Akshaya, mentioned in a LinkedIn post. First, originality and passion for the problems that they talk about, the percentage of their LinkedIn audience that is actually Storylane's ICP, and she links to a nifty hack that you can actually use to check this out. Specifically, you can go to the LinkedIn search bar, type in a title like maybe sales director, and then go to all filters and scroll down to followers of, and then type in the creator that you're researching. And hopefully you'll see a list of people who actually match your ICP. Going back to the criteria, her third one is quality of engagement. And lastly, would Storylane be a natural fit for them and their audience? And when I dug deeper, I found that all the creators that Storylane partnered with matched this criteria. So they had Sam Kay, the VP of Marketing at a talent intelligence platform, Anthony Natoli, he's a senior account executive at Gong, and Brian Lamana, who is an AE at Gong. So now that you know what you need to look for in a creator, how do you actually find these creators? You can do this by manually searching on LinkedIn or even just like asking recommendations from either peers or other creators, or even looking directly at your customer list to see if any of them have an audience. But I would say that the creator discovery process can be really tedious. And even after you find some promising creators, you still have to manually vet them by looking at engagement rate and follower count, average views per post, and even like credibility and expertise. So to make it easier, try using Favicon. You can sort by industry like marketing and sales, niche like SaaS, language, region, and then if you come down here, there's another LinkedIn filter. Here you can sort by follower count, average engagements per post, and make sure that they're posting at least like 5 to 7 times per month, and then check the box so that they're actually active on LinkedIn. And here you have a list of curated influencers. Now, follower count and engagement doesn't mean that the creator is credible or has a loyal audience. So that's why we have the authenticity score. It considers their followers, engagement quality, how often they use AI to create content, and the content's originality and the creator's genuine expertise. So if you need help finding the right creators, consider checking out Favicon. Now the next question is, how do you actually structure a creator partnership? Should you do maybe a long-term partnership or just like a one-off post with creators? At Storylane, they prefer to do long-term partnership and always offered like a 3-month pilot program for each of their creators. One of Storylane's partners, Tom Boston, recently posted this, proving that each progressive post performs significantly better. There's also a study of Robin Adamson's LinkedIn audience that shows that the engagement crossover from post to post is only about 15%. So even if a creator publishes 1 or 2 posts, it's unlikely that you've reached their entire audience. Now, the next question most people ask is, well, how much should I expect to pay for a sponsored post? Now, brand manager Akshaya stated in a LinkedIn post that there really isn't a benchmark. It's still kind of the Wild West. To help you better estimate how much a LinkedIn creator is going to charge, Favicon actually collected sponsored post rates from 136 LinkedIn influencers, from 200 to 700,000 followers, but most were in like the 5,000 to 500,000 follower range. This study revealed that prices range from $10 to $7,500 per post, but most of them fell between $200 and $2,000 per post. Now, based on this data, you'll see that we added sponsored post estimates inside each creator profile in Favicon. And the score was calculated on not just their follower count, but also their authenticity score. This estimate may not be perfect, but at least it gives you sort of a ballpark figure that you can expect when you're starting that negotiation process. So now that you've selected your creators, what are you going to have them post? The content itself is just as important as selecting the creators themselves. Now, in a post about their influencer program, Akshaya stated that they usually see two types of content perform well. First are humor-based videos that are just for brand awareness, and secondly, tactical, in-depth product content. Let's look at some of their humor-based videos. Even though these videos are all really funny, the subject of each of them is really relatable for sales professionals, and many of them have some sort of an underlying point. And this is actually the highest performing post from at least an engagement perspective. And you can see that it accurately addresses a really key problem that most people in sales experience, and it's actually the problem that Storylane's product solves. Next is the tactical, in-depth product content. So here's one of the top performing sales tip styles of posts that really includes a natural pitch for Storylane. Here's another slightly different style of a sales tip post that also integrates a pitch for Storylane. Now, how do you actually measure the impact of your influencer marketing campaign? Attribution's really hard, and at Storylane, they track CPMs, impact on brand searches after the influencer post is published, the number of influencer mentions on the How Did You Hear About Us field on the demo booking form, and then the actual impressions on the posts. Now, the third prong of their LinkedIn strategy is customer-led content. Now, we mentioned earlier that Madhav's initial LinkedIn marketing strategy idea was to just have their customers post about Storylane, but it didn't really get that much traction. So why is that? Well, I would say that there wasn't a very strong incentive for these customers with significant following to put a lot of effort into creating a great piece of content. So to better incentivize customers, their head of brand came up with a somewhat unorthodox idea, the Demo Dundies. This initiative was a play on the Office Dundies, so users could submit their Storylane demo to a panel of judges and share it on LinkedIn using the hashtag #DemoDundies. The winner then received an all-expenses-paid vacation to Paris. So this content contest angle created a much more appealing incentive. First, a travel incentive. A free trip to Paris suddenly makes the contest much more appealing, and you might spend more than 5 minutes working on your LinkedIn post. Secondly, ego bait. So winning a contest makes you look really good in your company, and it's another great way to pad your resume. And the final layer that made the Demo Dundies highly successful was the judges panel. So most of the judges were really proud to announce that they would be participating as one of the judges on the panel. So they would also share about the contest, and that would help generate even more brand awareness for Storylane. This story proves that LinkedIn is becoming an increasingly more important marketing channel, and we'll likely see more companies invest more dollars into it in the future. So now I'd love to hear from you. What's the first action item that you're going to take today to start growing your brand's presence on LinkedIn? And if you need any help finding LinkedIn influencers, be sure to check out Favicon.